So, finally, my friend, she left with the dog, and now I'm free to do a live stream. At least for like in a half hour or something. We can talk about Sadia Khan, we can talk about spirituality. I'm sure there's many intersections. We can talk about relationships, and you can ask me any questions you like to. Now, I think where I start the first thing that I want to start with is one thing is interesting in life. Like, unless you dedicate to something 100% of your time to a certain goal, it's very hard to progress in that goal or in that direction of the goal. So if you want to say, for example, I want to do, be a professional YouTuber, you really have to dedicate tremendous amounts of time to it. And even then, like when a friend comes to visit you and you're already live and you're actually supposed to do that, you have to like prioritize. And what Sadhguru once said, I remember Sadhguru when he said, everything has its price in a way. So while you decide to go in the direction of one goal in life, you're sacrificing so many other things. And that's true. So if you were to, for example, say, I want to be really successful with YouTube or have a successful business or something, then you would give up basically on everything else. And I have a mosquito net and I really need to catch this one. You can. It's one of those. Okay, hold on. Shit. It's really important to get this one so I can sleep well. This is one thing I have to be on. Like, one of the personal things that I absolutely hate about life is mosquitoes. I really ferociously hate mosquitoes. Seriously, like, there's probably nothing more in life that I hate than mosquitoes, because while everything else is a nuance during like bothers you during the day, mosquitoes bother you the whole fucking night. And unless you have white walls where you can then kill them when you put on the light, when you live in something like a van, it has way too many places where it can hide. So yeah. So feel free to ask anything or just comment anything you like. My comment section is always on. It's not like Sadia Khan's. My comment section is not like Sadia Khan's, where she, limits who can post into her comments. And what's also interesting is that it seems, like I said before, that she's deleting a lot of comments. Like, we could actually check this out. If I pull up my let me pull up my notebook, and we can check out. Hold on. Where did I put my notebook? I think I had to shuffle stuff in here, so I have to check where I put it. Here it is. Okay. I hope there's enough battery in it. I think there is. And I shuffled a lot of stuff around. I live in my van, so it's kind of I've always way too much stuff than I should. You know what's interesting about the culture of how different cultures see certain things? When you tell an American you live in the van, they think, a lot of people think like you're poor or something. And hello, how are you? And a lot of people think like you're poor, or that, you have no other option of living. It's almost like the last choice you would make. In Europe, it's kind of like seen as, like, especially with young people, it's seen like the ultimate lifestyle. So it's interesting how people see it. And I think it comes a little bit from the American, from the American trailer culture, that, the leftovers of society, so-called leftovers of society, that they pick to live in trailers because there's no other option left for them, and so they're like the bottom feeders of society a lot of times. Whereas in Europe, that's not not so often the case. It sometimes happens with people that live outside of cities. So if you had, for example, give me a second, I'm just gonna pull up here, make myself comfortable. So if you are uh, outside of cities, let's say Lyon, Marseille, whatever, like French city, Montpellier, you will sometimes find these camper parks. Hey, what's up? What's up, D'Artagnan? You will sometimes find these kind of like RV parks where people that cannot afford an apartment live in like on the outskirts of the city in those kind of like RV parks, and but it's not as common as in America with trailer parks and so. Tu vaux la bagarre. Tu vaux la bagarre. France is taken over by Africa. Yeah. I heard something that the government in France collapsed, but that's a little bit bullshit. It's interesting how people with so weak knowledge of things say this or this happened. It was just a lack of a confidence vote, and now Macron's gonna put in another person, and it's absolutely no problem. So I think people over exaggerate a lot of stuff. So I wanted to check out on Sadia Khan right now, but I think I have to shut down my computer first because I left the mouse in the back, I think. Oh no, actually I know where the mouse is, because for some reason my touchpad is not working. Never ever people get a VivoBook, Asus VivoBook. They're the worst notebooks you could ever get. Seriously, there's like, forget about them. I got a second one because there was nothing else being sold and I needed a new computer the same day. And they only had like Asus VivoBook, and the person was like, "These are really good." And I actually got them twice because of that same situation, and it turns out both suck. both are really bad. So next time I'll get a totally different notebook, especially one that has a lot of battery. Yeah. But anyways, so let me pull this up. Okay, so. That's the bad thing about van life. You don't have a fixed office unless you have a really huge RV where you can put this up. But you always kind of have to juggle stuff in the camper van, which unless it's just a weekend trip or it's like a weekend or week trip or 2 weeks maximum. But if you truly live in it, it's sometimes it can be complicated, unless you really don't have to do anything. If you don't work, if you don't YouTube, if you're just going outside and just enjoying nature and have like 2 t-shirts, then it's fine. So let me see, we're gonna check this out. I don't think it's gonna be anything significant, and probably I already fucked up this live stream, probably. I'm guessing. So this is so interesting, if you go like to most recent, it's interesting how many people respond really stupidly. Like this guy Milo, he says they're trying to humble you, glad you see, rise above. It's almost like they're deciding to think that this voice audio never existed, or they never heard it or something. Keep doing what you do, all this will pass. Haters gonna hate. I don't know, are people like really stupid? Like they must be like really, really, really fucking stupid. But society is really stupid. I would say 90% of society is toxic, and most of them are really fucking stupid. If people were not stupid, we wouldn't have had this whole COVID thing. People wouldn't have just not have complied with all that bullshit. So people need to be really stupid. You're a super hot woman who found her hustle, your niche as a coach. That's that's about all. Probably could have done without taking the degrees and all. No one would have cared. Most of the people in that space aren't certified real therapists or doctors of any kind. Yeah, he doesn't even mention the one thing is interesting. Like if you sort the comments by, it depends when she posted this. She posted this a day ago. But if you post this about recent comments, you see that while there's comments coming in, it's really not that many now, but it's already a day ago. So that's it's really interesting. Like when you click something, how do you explain the evidence of such? I need to really use glasses, otherwise I need to squint all the time. I'm way too far away from this. How do you explain the evidence and such the voicemail? And then it says it has 16 replies, and you click on it, and there's only 3 replies. That's really weird. Like, where are the other 13 replies? And I guess it's cached, and she actually deleted a lot of those. It's my guess. Otherwise, it's a really strange behavior system, though. So here's something, as someone who claims to be trained in psychology, you should know this. Reputation collapse hits a woman harder than almost anything else, especially when the identity was built on image, trust, and influence. The need to defend without proof, the silence before return, the overuse of emotional language, and the looking down of criticism is classic protection behavior under ego threat. You're not operating like someone in truth, you're operating like someone trying to preserve perception. Psychology 101, when the truth is present, transparency follows. When it's absent, narrative control takes over. I don't know. It's like when people try to prove, it's very hard. Okay, this guy is trying to say, when truth is present, transparency follows. When it's absent, narrative control takes over. I don't think there's a general rule for these things, and I don't think that any kind of special behavior is like evidence of anything, unless you're a very good energy reader. But I don't think you can take micro expressions or micro behaviors and consider that proof of lying, for example. So just because she posted what she posted doesn't mean that she's necessarily lying. It's very likely that she's lying, but it doesn't mean that it's 100% proof. And a lot of these psychologists or whatever, they're trying to use that as if that person does this, they're lying. It's not necessarily true. It might be a hint that is happening, but it's not 100% true. So for example, when I talk, I often touch my nose or I put my hand in front of my lips or something like that. But it's not proof that I'm lying or is trying to skew reality. It's just that I feel right now I want to do it. Sometimes it's just comfort or whatever. So you cannot take these micro expressions or something necessarily as truth. She says then, so why can't the accusers find the married man and let him speak? Happy to meet him. In all of these answers, she's avoiding the fact that the audio exists. So she's trying to downplay the fact that the audio exists, because what people don't understand, the question is not if this husband exists or not. The point is that she said what she said. And she's saying she never showed to anyone that she didn't say it. And you know what's interesting is that 32 people like it. That means there's so many stupid people who cannot ask basic questions. Yeah. But, Instagram kind of, although it's that popular, it never had... It always had a little bit of problems with the technology, especially when you look at it from the website. When you try to see the responses, it's really weird that you have, for example, 3 replies and then you only see 1. I think my guess is that what these influencers said is true. That's my guess. And I think that it's going to come out eventually. And I think that she's trying just to She's afraid of losing all that business. That's for sure. I mean, who wouldn't be, right? Whether you're con man or con woman or not, you would definitely be afraid of losing that business, especially if that guarantees your kind of lifestyle in Dubai or whatever. Because unless the money comes in, that lifestyle is over. There's one woman who says, I've always admired Sadia. How can you admire someone if that audio is real? And she never says anywhere that it's not real. She only says that the person doesn't exist, but it doesn't matter. The audio is real, right? I love your wisdom, intelligence, and experience. Your shader has one. I think she's deleting a lot of. She must be deleting a lot of comments because otherwise that Instagram would be full. And I think this won't work. It's really my guess. I don't think it will work to just keep on deleting the comments. The only person who managed to do this somehow and still get away with it is Bill Gates. I don't know if you look at Bill Gates' like Twitter or Instagram. I don't look at it, but I used to look at it like in the past, and a lot of it. Oh, here's the website, the side piece sadia.com. I have to check that one out. I haven't clicked on that link yet. I really have to check that out. Sadia side. I mean, these guys are really something. The Sadia Clown site. If you have a history of hiring Sadia Khan as a therapist, psychologist, relationship counselor, attending one of her events, or buying any of her programs, please click the link to provide proof of this to the Dubai Health Authority. It is DHA's authority to investigate whether or not she has acted appropriately as a therapist and if her credentials are fabricated or authentic. So please provide as much detail, screenshots, testimony in your email as possible. Make sure to use really contact info in case they reach back out. It's gonna be really interesting, like what comes out of this. Now, and I think that is something super important. Like when you are honest, and you tell people that you're honest, or you tell people that you made a mistake and you really want to correct it, whatever. But I think if you press on that kind of like same lie, you could say, I think then people are going to be upset, and they're going to try to use that. And you say rumors, prove it, receipts or repent. It's interesting, like it says, this is something also I don't understand. It says like here, it says 10,000 likes and 867 comments. But when you look, there's no 860 comments. Like, you can scroll as much as you want. There's like definitely not. She must have deleted so many comments. It's about it. It's got to be insane. Otherwise, 2 minutes ago, I'm proud of you. Always have been. You inspire us so much. God protect you and keep building on your quest to help you. I think, to be quite honest, congratulations, bro, for coming out from jail. I think you're talking to the wrong dude. Don't let anyone or false rumors strike you. It's interesting how many people are still behind her. It's absolutely unbelievable. It just shows that people really don't care nowadays. And this is one thing that I believe. I don't think after a few weeks, after a few months, I think she'll go back to business as usual and nobody will ever care about it. And I think this is a little bit a problem of modern society in general. You see that also with the Tates and everything, is people forgive and forget, but not in a good way. It's just that they're stupid. Oh, yeah. Just go somewhere else, Andrew. Okay. There are women in the top 1% in this world still rooting for you. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I wonder where this comes from. I think this is kind of like almost like a reality distortion field. I think really something is wrong with the people nowadays. I really do think. Oh, this is something we could talk about in terms of like lived spirituality, practical spirituality. I feel something is wrong with people nowadays, and I think it has happened since COVID. I think it got really bad during COVID. Maybe it was the vax, the jab. Maybe it was something else. Maybe the stress, the whatever. Something broke in people. I feel they're different. Wherever I am, I feel people different than before. Sometimes I ask myself if it's me, but no. I spoke to other people, so older people who seem reasonable, who feel it the same way. So people have become really weird, and I think they've become not only individualists, but I think they've become also narcissistic, and I think they've become just careless, completely careless. I think most people are careless. They just want to have some hedonism, the minimum amount of hedonism in their life, and everything else they don't care about. This is kind of like, I don't care who feels this way, that way. It's just about me, 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 me. And I think people are deeply unhappy. I'm pretty sure people are deeply unhappy. Because even the influencers that are making the so-called money, nobody's really interested in them, and they desperately seek that, attention. And I think that there is a sufficient disconnect between humans on the heart chakra level that I think that they cannot be happy even if they tried. And they have, of course, disconnect to nature. There's no question about that. A huge disconnect to nature, to their true sense and self. And yeah. And a lot of people are good at hiding it, that they're not happy. That's also another thing. A lot of people are really good at hiding it. By the way, I've never said this before, but I think Sadia Khan is truly unhappy in her core. And on Instagram, you can post anything. Just get a couple of, BFFs, make 2 photos, put some nice text together, and pretend like everything is fine. As a response, of course, to everything that's going on. And to some degree, it works to the outside, but it doesn't work to the inside. And I've always found her to be an unhappy person. I never saw her as a happy person. She can pretend with a nice smile and nice voice or whatever, but I think that she's truly lacking a true self-love. I don't think she has true self-love. A lot of people don't. It's not just her. A lot of women nowadays are lacking self-love. I met, I told you that I have this strong, where I can feel, like, sense energies. That's why I, called her out already a year ago. I can feel energies, and what I notice is a lot of women, even they are hiding it, but I can sense it. Like, I can sense that energy. They have tremendous hate towards men. And it's interesting when they have, for example, when I meet someone, a young woman, let's say 25, 26, 27, and I don't want anything from her. She's just maybe part of a discussion. I was at a camping place where I was having a discussion with the owner of the camping place. She was very nice, and she was older. And there was a younger woman standing right next to us, and I could literally sense her hate. Like, a lot of young women have hate towards men. It makes literally zero sense to have like a what do you call it? Like a across the board hate. I mean, I understand if you pick certain people, because they behaved in a certain way. But to hate a whole gender, this is amazing. And men don't have that. Men, like 99.9% of men, they don't hate a whole gender. But women are really capable right now, modern women, especially young modern women, to hate a whole gender. Like, it's interesting. It's like so many young women, especially kind of like woke or LGBT, or they really hate men. And and what I'm saying is it's truly bizarre when they hate someone like me, although they don't know me, and I'm actually a healer for women. So it's weird. Like, of course, the people that come into my session, they don't hate men. I'm saying just people that I meet, generally. Hi, Sunderland. I know you're subscribed. I'm back because my friend went to sleep, and I still have a couple minutes where I can be online, talk about stuff. We can choose what we talk about. No fixed rules. And yeah, so I do feel a lot of hate by young women in Europe that are definitely on the left kind of political side or woke or whatever. And you meet a lot of them, and they look very tomboy. Sometimes they have these rings in the nose. They have all kind of short hair. It's like they hate themselves as women, and at the same time they hate men. Yeah, you cannot help these people. It's like completely projected hate, because there's literally nothing to hate about when meeting me, because I'm not superficially interested. I'm not even interested in having any kind of intimacy. I don't want to bag them. I don't want to like pick them up. No interest whatsoever in most of them, but they give me that vibe. Like, it's like they think they have this feeling, but I'm pretty sure that they think that I cannot sense it. But as an energy healer, as like super sensitive, I can just sense it. It's like right there. And yeah. And I think that's more of a women thing, to be able to hate a whole, like, it's kind of like what they do, they're like pissed when someone is just a little bit like racist or something, but they can like hate a whole gender. There's a lot of like hypocrisy with these people. A lot of hypocrisy. Yeah. Yeah, I'm here. There's a lot of hypocrisy in the sense, like, men are not allowed to do this, but as women we can do everything. And yeah, so I did notice that. And this is the thing. I can talk about these things as a somewhat, like, not as 100% generalized truth, but as something that, as an energy healer, I definitely observe in society. And am I streaming tomorrow? Depends what I do tomorrow, but maybe. It's like I have a lot of channels. I have a lot of channels in many languages, also my ASMR channels. So I need to work on those as well. And I try to focus on that which works right now, so I don't focus much on things that don't work. Although I like streaming, but you can stream like for 2 hours and nobody's interested, so it depends. My ASMR content is growing. Those channels are starting to grow slowly, so I'm focusing on those as well. If you put in J Costa and then sort by channels, filter by channels, a lot of them are shown. Yeah, you can see all of these other channels. Hi, Blue Line Chelsea. Hello. By the way, a lot of the support that you get from on the internet is sometimes also from really strange people. Like, So, and I think this is an interesting psychological thing that I noticed, that we give comments so much worth, but we don't really know who's behind it. It could be like the craziest serial killer that's just like, "Oh, I'm always supporting and rooting for you," but you don't really know that person, so you don't know who that is. Uh, um, I also feel like I don't know why, but I feel like sometimes my channels are being purposefully suppressed, or maybe I'm doing something wrong, like really wrong, that I'm not seeing. That also seems to be the case sometimes. Um, the For example, I do have a Russian ASMR channel. My Russian is not the best, but people like my voice. And in like 1 or 2 weeks, it got to 1,000 subscribers. It got to 1,000 subscribers, like in 2 weeks' time. A little bit less than 1,000 subscribers, but around 1,000 subscribers. And it was interesting because it was the fastest growing channel that I've ever had. And then suddenly it completely stopped, but like completely stopped. And if I pull it up right now, this is something so interesting because I can show you. It has like the top video it has 1,800. It has 1,800 views and 1,000 likes. It was like, or the other ones have like 300 likes for 7,000 views. That's massive. That's like 5% of all viewers gave it like, and the other one, yeah, it's around 5% of all viewers give it likes. And still they decided to like completely block the growth of the channel back then. Never understood it. What is the latest? I think the biggest issue that she keeps doubling down. Degrees calls. How will she survive this? Look at the comments on Instagram. I'm not sure if she's deleting everything, but it seems like she has a lot of support still, or maybe she's deleting everything so she seems like she has a lot of support still. And because there's just like 10,000 likes. That's a lot. And I try to check how much followers or unfollowers she had. To be quite honest, I don't think it really reached that level yet that everyone knows what's going on. That's also my guess. She might have posted, her response, and people don't even know like the real thing, like they haven't heard the audio yet and so forth. And she's trying to squench it. What do you call it? Like to bury it while it's still possible. But the audio's out there, and to be quite honest, if she really went ahead with the lawsuit with these guys, and the audio is real, I would also post the audio. I would also like, here's the audio, guys, because like you say, if it's almost like an insult to everyone, not just her followers, like to double down on it. Absolutely. I'm not into football or soccer, so I can't really comment on that. I have almost zero interest in watching sports, but I enjoyed hiking today. Let me talk about something positive. So I went hiking today with my best friend, and we ended up in a posh. That's so funny. We were hiking like with horrible clothes and a backpack and all of that stuff, and then we ended up in a really posh restaurant, and we had a steak, and everybody looked over like, who are these guys? What they want here? And we had a steak in the end, and we had a cheesecake, and it cost 78 euros. But I said it was definitely worth it. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, the cheesecake was, it was a special cheesecake. Oh, and in the beginning they gave like a special, like, high quality tuna, and they put like olive oil on the tuna, and they served it with really fresh, nice, like, bread, and you could like dip your bread into the tuna with the olive um, oil. That was really good. That was like a starter, you could say. And it went quite well, actually, even though we had to meet after that, but it was fine. And then we hiked another 1.5 hours up the whole, you know. I do like. I'm not a fan of tuna because of the what is it called in English? The thing that's in the tuna, the kind of the heavy metal thing. What is it called? Quicksilver. Quicksilver. No, Quicksilver. What is it called? Mercury. There's mercury in tuna, but you know that little piece didn't matter. And olive oil. Olive oil is actually extremely healthy. Brian Johnson was asked if you would leave out everything, but you had to pick one thing that you really think is the most healthiest in terms of like food. He said he would go with the olive oil, like really, really healthy olive oil. I have the Picual olive oil, which is like the type of aceituna, the type of olive, and then the harvest is usually this year or end of last year or something like that. You would pick salad. I would help, but I don't know what you mean. With what would you help? I don't know with what you want to help. Yes, I'm ready to go to sleep because I'm super. And croutons. Okay, croutons. I understand. They must be in the soup. Imagine like a really hearty soup and then croutons in it. Oh my god, it's very nice. Yeah, I think we should go to sleep. I don't know where you're from. Is there anything else I want to say, or somebody else wants to ask me something? So I do think that she's deleting a lot of comments, and it would fit her kind of character very well. I don't think she can handle all of the stuff that's coming in. To be quite honest, it must be on her Instagram. I'm pretty sure it must have like thousands of negative comments. I can't imagine that there's like 3 negative comments, and I'm pretty sure that a lot of famous influencers that have Instagram with their blue check marks, I'm pretty sure they left something negative there as well. And I'm 100% she deleted that. Yeah, a lot of people really believe that those are false rumors. I'm pretty sure they're not. I mean, you can be wrong, but she basically didn't go out of her way to prove anything. And what's really weird when she said, well, if they're clients, I'm going to show them my credentials, but to anybody else, I'm not going to show my credentials. Like, what the fuck? It's really, really weird. It's like, especially in this time, it would be ideal to show it. I think she's lacking some credentials, and I think this is gonna blow up in her face if that's really important in Dubai. So it's gonna be interesting. And if I were her, I would already pack my bags and leave Dubai. But I don't think she wants to live in England or anywhere else. But if she really needs to have a license number in Dubai and she doesn't have it, I will leave now. Well, like now. Yeah. for me, it's very cool because I can literally live in any country and I'm happy. A lot of people can't do that. Like, you put me in, I don't know, in Central South America, I'm going to be happy. You put me in Europe, I'm happy. There's places that I don't want to go, that I actually never want to go, is like United States, the Middle East, and Africa. Those are like the three places I definitely want to go. I don't want to go to North America. I don't want to go to the Middle East. I don't want to go to Africa. Those are like the three places. And Russia. I mean, if someone put me in Russia, I would probably find my way around pretty quickly. And I would probably really quickly learn good Russian. But it's not my favorite, choice. Europe, Central South America, Asia, you put me anywhere there, I'm probably gonna be super happy and get my, feel at home anywhere. To Sadia Khan, to me, feels like she would only be really happy in Dubai and maybe in England, but nowhere else. I don't see her anywhere else. Maybe in Spain. I don't know. Hard to say. I really wonder how it's going to continue with her, like in terms of like professionally. Because will anybody take her on like for a podcast still? Probably yes. There's so many podcast simps. I invented now the term podcast simping. My view is that she may have been an escort, but she was articulate, well-informed, and managed her channel well. The issue was that there was no need to fabricate degrees. That's the thing. That's absolutely true. There was absolutely no need to fabricate degrees, number one. And I wonder a little bit. I understand kind of the point where she says that she was in the process of getting this kind of registration number and everything, and then kind of, career took off, so she kind of forget about it. But if it's a law in Dubai to do that for being, private therapist, whatever, then of course you have to have it. I know in some countries like Germany, it depends like what you say. If you're a coach in Germany, you don't need anything. But if you cannot say you're a psychotherapist, for example, in Germany, that's, that would be illegal if you don't have those, credentials to do that. And I guess in Dubai it's going to be similar. Let's not forget the fact that I did see her because she responded to me like that, and to some other people, very harshly when she was called out for something. So there must be an issue, because I don't know any psychologist or any coach or whatever that attacks people so harshly. It's actually, what I've learned the last couple of weeks since taking YouTube a little bit more seriously, I actually, even to people who are really mean to me in the comments, I respond like super nice. I'm like, yeah, sure. For example, there was one guy who said, don't forget to take your medication. I was like, oh, thank you. I definitely should take them. I'll just make a joke out of it. Just enjoy it. But don't, attack them like, who the fuck are you? Are you crazy? And your mom is, I don't know, whatever, brokey, loser, I don't know. It makes no sense. It's not a good way. It's just, it's just not a good way. Be happy that somebody's engaging with your content, even if it's negative. Sometimes people need also that overreaction in order to grow. So they, for some reason, who knows? But my guess is, if she's truly like that, let's assume she's truly like that, and those responses that she did, the comments that she did to all these people, like these harsh comments, then it's not going to take long until it comes back, because that would mean that there's a severe psychological issue and you cannot just force that away. You cannot just say, okay, I'm not going to respond like that anymore. Okay, I'm not going to respond like that anymore. I shouldn't do this because right now I'm in this situation. So even if you have that, within a week or two, the ego, if it's not resolved on a deeper level, it's going to come snapping right back. So we'll see those probably anyway. She's probably going to lock down. I could imagine that she's going to lock down the comments on the next post pretty quickly, because like I said, it's not going away. Especially if she now attacked them with a lawsuit and they doubled down as well. They're like, okay, let's call Dubai authority and see, what's your standing, and bring the lawsuit on. When they said that, I think that that will create even more like momentum on YouTube. And I see also that videos are still coming out from all kinds of people who have a huge reach, so, and I mean, it all needs just one more podcast simp who agrees to never ask her any questions about this. And maybe she's also looking just for a time in order to figure out a great lie on how to lie about, that voicemail. Maybe. And I find it a little bit offensive to the intelligence of viewers to say like, well, who's that man? If that man exists, he will never show up. It's kind of but this would be now interesting if that woman who was on the other end of the there's another theory. Nah, but I mean, that would be radical theory, no, that she fabricated that voicemail. But that wouldn't make sense because she's already becoming famous. She doesn't need to, push any kind. Nah, doesn't make sense. It makes no sense whatsoever what I just said. The thing, it's a very short clip. That's the problem. So you don't know what else is going on there. And I sort of didn't understand how it was leaked, to be quite honest. I don't think her advisors or friends are competent or sincere. She could have taken ownership of some of it. Everyone makes mistakes, but blatantly lying will not help her. I agree. I see it the same way. I think if she would have taken ownership and be like, yeah, that was this situation, I was really pissed that day, people would be like, yeah, okay, we get it. And she could have fabricated also a tiny story around it, like that it was taken out of context, that she just made me upset and I had a really, really bad date, so I tried to and she said something about me, and then I wanted to give it back to her, so that would have been kind of like, oh, I understand. It's like we've all said stuff which was really mean to others at some point in our lives, minus me, but it happens. Like I remember I once told my dad he's an asshole, but he was at that moment in time, and we all sometimes say things which are not our best side, even if they're maybe true or not true, who knows, whatever. But so people would understand. But like you say, the way she did it was exactly not the way to go about it. To be honest, if there would be no one who has reach that would talk about her, like me, for example, who doesn't have reach, then nobody would ever care, and she would keep making money. But if people that have millions of followers talk about this, then it becomes relevant. Interesting is that none of the podcasters she was on talk about this. Like, none of them. Isn't that interesting? It's like, but of course it's not their business to, talk about, the fallouts of their guests, I guess. It's not their spiel. They want to keep doing serious podcasts, I guess. The thing is, I've never, ever, I need to put the microphone more away because I'm going to say this loud. I've never, ever heard anything from Sadia Khan that made sense. Nothing. Superficially, it might seem, But if you know a little bit about energetics and real like relationship dynamics, nothing of it makes sense. It's all superficial. It's super superficial advice. Like anybody could, say this. There's like literally nothing. Like yeah, a high value man is someone who has his desires under control. Show me one fucking successful man who has these desires under control. It doesn't exist. Well, and then the question is who to have it under control for. Maybe that's exactly what she should be doing, not having it under control. Maybe the whole definition of a high value man, in the sense like, let's talk about what is high value or low value. She's talking about sense of high value like rich and successful. That's what she means. Because if she meant high value in terms of like good morals and all of this stuff, then he would be probably on the scale of economic success a loser. You know what I mean? Because you can have both. Most of the time is, anybody who has read Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, knows that success comes from sexual transmutation. The fact that you have a lot of sexual energy as a man and you're able to put that into your solar plexus and manipulate the 3D world. And that's why all of these people, without, whether it's Trump, Epstein, whoever, Jeff Bezos, it doesn't matter. They all have high sexuality and they all can't keep it in their pants. It's normal. And it's not necessarily unhealthy. Actually, it's not unhealthy. No, it's not unhealthy. It's just that women don't like it. And maybe we should just take away the narrative that women are supposed to tell us men how we should be living. And that's the great thing about my life, is I don't have a girlfriend, I don't have a relationship. My van is a chaos. I love my life, and I don't. The older I get, the more money I have, the more I enjoy life, the less I give a fuck of what women think. And I really don't give a fuck like if they find me attractive or not. And it's really a blessing. Of course, it's great if there's a woman that really understands me and is like, oh, I really want to get to know him. And for example, my best friend is like that. We get along very well. And she's because she knows it's not a relationship, she's like, whatever, his van is chaos, it's fine. And I feel so free. And the moment the problem is a lot of women have pussy power. And men do anything to get even an idea of that pussy. But when you were a tantra master like me and massaged 1,000 women intimately, you're like, okay, I had enough pussy. Like, seriously. Like, I touched more pussy than a gynecologist, for a longer time. So I'm like, man, I know what's there. I know, it doesn't fascinate me that much anymore. If you have very little pussy in your life, I'm just going to say it how it is right now. If you as a man have very little pussy or had very little pussy in your life, you constantly value it. Like, and Tate said it once, it's true. But like there's a certain saturation point. The thing is, if you come from the ego and you have sex with women, I want to say fuck. If you have sex with women from the ego perspective, then that experience never feels completed. It never feels full. It always feels like, almost like, okay, I had my fun, but where's like the true connection? And that's something that a lot of men miss, and a lot of partners miss in their relationship. So they have just sex, because there's sexual attraction. But true tantric connection goes way deeper. It's totally different vibration. And when you had 1,000 deep connections with women on that tantric and erotic, but also spiritual level, you understand it perfectly. And then you're not even interested in that superficial stuff anymore. It just doesn't have that deep connection that everyone is looking for. That they might pretend it's like taking drugs. You take drugs because you want to feel a certain high, but in reality you want to feel spiritually free, and the drugs give you like a temporary hit, but it's never that. So the same thing is here. You can have sex, but if it's not, a true deep connection, there's always, that's why you need the next hit, the next hit, the next hit. And that's why you constantly crave more women, more pussy, because you never understood that, there's something deeper that you can have with less women, but and I think that is also a problem of the current society. They have absolutely no clue about deeper connection. It's all about sacral chakra and root chakra, and that's it, and controlling third chakra, and that's it. So and once you have many of these experiences on the heart chakra level, on the spiritual level, on the mystical level, you're like, oh, okay. Because I could go from today to tomorrow, I could immediately go into, being a tantra master again. But I'm like, I think I've experienced it enough, touching more pussy. I don't know. So I don't think you're nice. Okay, even Tate was on her podcast. Was on her podcast or he on hers? I think there must have been like an intermediary, right? Because she doesn't really have a podcast, does she? I agree with you. I'm 41 after being single for the past 3 years. I can honestly, life has been better. Yeah, and I don't think, I think unless you have that really deeper connection, there's nothing a woman can give you that you don't have for yourself. Once that mysticism and the magic of pussy is gone, because you've experienced it, like the whole energetic thing on a deeper level, and had so many, it literally becomes different. It doesn't mean that you don't want to meet someone, that you don't want to have a nice conversation, that you want to see where it goes, but it's not like especially, okay, I'm gonna say this differently. The value of pussy is so diminished, and the value of modern women is so low, that the effort is not worth it anymore. I think that's what's really going on. And there's some men, especially younger men with higher testosterone, they're like, they do understand it in some form or fashion, even maybe if unconsciously, they understand that these are not the women they truly want, but their testosterone still wants to impregnate them. But they don't really want to impregnate them. It's just they want to get rid of that pressure. And at the same time fill their ego, that they were able to conquistar, they were able to like get that woman home and then brag about it either to themselves or to someone else. And I think that in all seriousness is a broken society. It's that whole bro culture thing. There is no, show me a bro culture dude is like, I want to marry that woman that looks like Sadia Khan, or that, looks like an OF model or something. I think a lot of, and plus she looks like she has extensions on her hair. I see that on some of the videos. It looks a lot like extensions. It doesn't have to be, but it looks like it. And a lot of women put up a lot of makeup, a lot of trying to look beautiful. But I actually think the more they try, actually the more they lose their value. I feel it works still on Instagram. It works, and some stupid guys are definitely simping for it. But I think, otherwise OnlyFans wouldn't make 8 billion a year in revenues. But I think men are just choosing those women because they're desperate. And a lot of men also like the comfort of having certain pussy at home they can regularly fuck, and not having a complicated life, maybe even not totally loving her or not being really interested in her. Just comfort for a lot of men, I sometimes feel. And I'm very liberated from this somehow. And I'm even at the point of my life where I don't even want a kids. If the perfect woman shows up and it feels like it's all coming together at a certain synchronicity, then maybe yes, but I wouldn't bother if that doesn't happen. And I think the best advice, and I've said it a couple times already, I think the best advice is not actually to try to play that whole dating game. I mean, the thing is also she's trying to fill a gap where there's so much problems in relationships, and these problems are not solvable. You cannot solve them by giving superficial tips like she does. Not even coaching. You cannot solve it. It's unsolvable. The only thing that's solvable is that you geomax. That you say, if you're a guy, whether rich or not, but you can afford it, just go to a place where the culture fits your lifestyle that you like to have. Instead of, trying to fix relationships with stupid women in Europe or North America or Dubai. Or stupid men. Doesn't matter. Yeah. Just go into the culture where it's easy. So if I were to say, okay, I definitely need a girlfriend, I definitely want to have that experience, I just go to the Philippines or to Thailand. Philippines more than Thailand, but why make it complicated? Or Central South America. I speak perfect Spanish, so. Women don't always take men seriously. I know a few colleagues who told me that whenever they go to Starbucks or experience malls, they post it online for reimbursement, and there are always guys willing to cover the cost. Yeah, I know. I mean, this whole Findom, PayPig shit, I don't know. It's crazy. Yeah. A lot of Sims out there. A lot of Sims. It's crazy. Something is wrong with the men. 100% as well. I mean, why would you give your hard-earned money to women you see on your fucking screen? They don't even exist. They exist only in your mind on the screen. Why would you do that? The same, like, why would you still support a Sadia if that voice recording is real? It's the same thing. People are crazy. People are really crazy. I mean, you're probably gonna hear that a lot on my channel. People are crazy because they are, and 90% of people are toxic. That needs a little bit more explanation some other time. I call this toxic metaframing. You notice that when you understand toxic metaframing, and you listen to people when they talk, and you see how they toxic metaframe, you will understand what I'm talking about. But first, I have to define toxic metaframing on my channel. I think I already did this, but I can make a new video, like a masterclass on it, explaining toxic metaframing. I can do this tomorrow. Full video on toxic metaframing. Because that will open your eyes. Totally open your eyes. You will understand relationships completely different than you've ever seen them. And once you understand toxic metaframing, you will understand that almost everyone you interact with does it. Except 5 to 10% who don't do it, and those are the people that you need to keep around. Yeah. It's not even that late. It's just 22. It's almost 11, but not yet. Yeah. I think these guys, these Sims, must be super lonely. And instead of, like me, learning how to deal with the loneliness and transform it into self-love, they start to give out their money left and right. And I have literally zero financial problems, and still I wouldn't give my money to random people. I give it to good friends who I really trust, and who I know that, they really benefit from it, and but to give it to random people on the internet, it's absolute bizarre, absolute stupid. And that not just that doesn't go just for money, even like your energy and your support, like supporting random people like Sadia on, for some stupid advice that doesn't even work. It's weird. Like, I would like to see two things. One thing is one video which I can't refuse that she's right. Number one, I want to see that one. And the second thing is I want to see a client who really, really, really benefited from her advice. I don't think any of those two exist. I'm sure they go home thinking that it will help them, but probably won't. And look at it this way. Like, either you must be super, 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 super talented in understanding relationships, which is definitely not. Or you would have to have a very deep understanding of like studying psychology and all of that stuff, but on a very profound level to give really good clinical advice, you could say. Or you would have to be like me, like really understand it on an energetic level, like a yogi kind of thing. Those three things would make sense. Or you just want to comfort people because you're super on the heart chakra level. And I don't see Sadia being any of those four things. She just has a soft voice, nice look, and people like to buy that shit because because nobody else seems to package it good enough. Some random advice. You really want to look for a high value man. The thing is also I'm not very good at listening to her because like I said, I get allergic reactions listening to people I don't trust. Um, and the thing is that I would have to listen to much more of her content and then start to write it down and then show how she's pretty much wrong about everything. But it would be interesting. I don't want to do it. If I had a channel that, had 100,000 viewers or more, like 100,000 subscribers or more, and like 200,000 views per video, I would do it. I would be like, okay, I'm gonna watch like 10 hours of content with her and then write down everything and show how she's wrong on it, pretty much everything. This highlights her vulnerability in the way she conducted herself, and honestly, I'd say most dating experts aren't entirely legitimate, just more street smart about avoiding saying certain things. Yeah, I think so. It's just, by the way, to get popular on the internet in those short video kind of times where shorts really make you viral, what do you really need? You just need clips of bullshit sayings. Yeah, find a high value man who can keep his penis in his pants, but still is very rich. Wouldn't that be nice? And then it already goes viral because all the women start to comment. Like, oh yeah, exactly, that's what I'm looking for. It's all very stupid. Actually, YouTube is doing a creator feedback thing right now where every creator can write them feedback. I'm pretty sure they're gonna throw that in AI and try to improve their whole system. And turns out there were a couple of questions in this direction, and I had some time to kill, so I gave a response and I said the problem's literally the algorithm. It's literally just pushing polarizing content and stupid content instead of what people really like and really, it's hard to gauge because you don't have, it's very hard to get metrics for that, but that would be only the way to fix the algorithm. Right now, the way the algorithm is for TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, it just pushes the stupidest content ever. I mean, look at Mr. Beast. Like, what? How stupid is that content? Can't get any stupider. But it's like the real mature, great content doesn't get pushed. It's sad. We we're living, in my opinion, we are living in terms of social media, we're living in very sad times. And I think there's a different time is gonna come, 100% sure. There's gonna be a huge switch with artificial intelligence and everything that's coming with that. But right now it's kind of almost sad. It's all basura. It's all trash. What videos do you have planned next for the channel, and how do you use the outcome of the Sadia situation? Well, that's a good question. I do have a couple of things. First of all, I don't want to get sued, so I always say alleged and stuff like that. And I don't put stuff out there like that. It's 100% true that this happened, or I don't want to get sued because of it. My channel. I mean, if I had millions of views, I probably wouldn't care. If I made a lot of money with it, but I don't think I. To be honest, I've been a YouTuber for a very long time, and I've created content for a very long time. Sometimes it went very viral, sometimes it didn't. I think the Sadia thing will still keep on like for a month or two, and then she will just continue doing what she does, and everybody else will forget about it. But I think that, and that's also sad, kind of, that it will end like that, but it's very probable. And for me, it's like probably once that Sadia thing phases out a little bit, the channel will probably not grow that much, and it will be unlikely that I find something that really takes off again. But I have the tendency to keep finding interesting stuff. Maybe talk about spirituality. But I don't have. I think my ASMR channels. I think something coming in the of my eye. I think the ASMR channels will have the most pull over time, because I have some really serious fans on my ASMR channel. Sometimes it surprises me. Like, those are people that follow me like for years, and if I don't put up a content like in a week, they're like, "What's going on?" And they're like massive fans, and they told me like I have the best ASMR voice they've ever listened to and stuff like that. So I think that has the biggest chance of really becoming big. But I really do enjoy, as more and more people are coming online on the English channel, I do enjoy posting more and more in English. My German channel is the largest channel. It has 4,300 something subscribers. But I would put more and more effort into the English one. I really enjoy streaming and pushing my content internationally. The Spanish is also kind of nice. Spanish people are usually very nice. Your analysis are top notch. Thank you very much. Well, I did the Mooji one, right? And I think that was interesting. I think I noticed a couple of things that people are not usually aware of about Mooji. But Mooji is, of course, the whole thing is only interesting in India. But what I find a little bit sad is, like, you make a video like that, and it would be nice, like TikTok, like where you get 1,000 views just once you post the video, get like 1,000 views, and then the algorithm kind of decides whether it wants to continue pushing it or not. But to post a video and get like 20 views, that sucks. That really sucks. And in that regard, YouTube is still really shitty. What's going on here? Hold on. Okay. Yeah, I'm parked now on a parking space just because it's very close to the friend that I'm visiting. But it's not my favorite space here. Are they gonna park next to me? I hope not. But it looks like they're gonna. Oh, but that thing is huge. Yeah, they're gonna try. That's the good thing about having a van that's only 6 meters long. You have much more flexibility in terms of parking also in the city. The moment it's like huge, it sucks. Yeah, so I think we'll see where it goes. You know, I believe in the synchronicity of things, and that if it's supposed to be. I will talk also about libido empowerment. Maybe I can make tomorrow a video about a master class on toxic metaframing and explaining also the whole thing of libido empowerment, libido suppression, everything. I think it would be a good idea. So people who understand, like I have to explain on this channel and sometimes re-explain a couple of more deep analysis, or no, deep knowledge, like really deep spiritual energetic knowledge for people to understand where I'm coming from when I explain things. That would set a little bit the groundwork for everything that all the other videos, so they understand, okay, this is where it's coming from. Because, and maybe also a video about myself. I cannot and I don't want to say everything about myself, but a little bit like a biography thing, like what is my background, to understand like where that is coming from, like what's my soul plan, what things did I do so far in life. I did a lot of very different things, and until I came to spiritual awakening, and then it made a huge, like that one was a huge difference, because then the tantra massages came. So yeah, I could make that as well. A little bit like set like a little bit the tone for who I am and where this stuff is coming from. And, I've always had the talent to have very sensitive feeling to energies. But only after spiritual awakening I was able to use it to heal people and stuff. And I really enjoy talking about spirituality, psychology, relationships, chakras, the interface of what is our body to the universe, kind of to Maya, how it really works, and how we are being lied to sometimes, consciously or unconsciously, to how things really work. That's why I always call myself the red pill YouTuber, kind of the escape the matrix YouTuber, because I don't just show, how to be, financially independent or something, or how to, hack the system. What I'm showing is really to really fundamentally reassess the whole thing of experience itself. And I think that we've been fed a certain level of collective consciousness through history and education, which is false in a lot of ways. And so I understand it from the yogic's perspective. So meaning that I see interactions between people by understanding the energy centers, the chakras, and the connection between them. And you will see, as if you subscribe to my channel for a long time, this English one, you will see how it will blow your mind. Like if you don't come from this space and you've never heard anything about this, it will completely blow your mind. It will, for example, you will see how certain blockages, emotional blockages in your energy centers force your behavior. It makes you behave in ways that's not necessarily even your true self. So, for example, with Sadia Khan, it's so obvious that she has a solar plexus blockage. She has tremendous fear of not being accepted. Yeah, and that's why she fabricates maybe all these things. Yeah, and then when she gets challenged, she gets aggressive. So those are all solar plexus blockages. It's almost like the choleric person. A person who's choleric has a solar plexus blockage. Yeah, they're not fully in their heart chakra actually. They can't, because if the energy is stuck in the solar plexus, it never enters fully the heart chakra. So this is going to be interesting to talk about these things, and some people already like drop out with this kind of spiritual chakra talk because they don't know anything about it. They think it's hocus pocus, but it's actually the core of everything, and you will see it makes sense. And I think there's only people that are really into this, or somebody like Sadhguru, he would completely agree, because I actually bought his book, Inner Engineering, and I didn't read the whole thing because I saw that he he basically, everything in inner engineering reflects exactly my understanding of energy systems. It's 100% one by one to one. And so I was like, he's basically writing what I already know. And but I agree with. It's not like I'm not saying it's a bad book. I'm just saying for it, it's basically exactly what I know. And but I didn't read about it. I didn't learn about it. I just felt it. Like I feel these energies, and then when I read about them in the yogic sciences, I realized, okay, they see it the same way, because that's how I learned it, through feeling it. And then I was like, oh. And I think that makes it so interesting, is that for me it's not a theory that I learned, but it's something that I experienced, and then later I read about it. So for example, I started to do certain pranayama and breathing exercises, and certain, like, manipulating my prana and chi, and working with my chakras, and doing mantras even, and not yet mudras, but I was doing these kind of like things. And then later on, I read that those are actually yogic techniques. And I was like, oh, what the fuck? Okay. And then I learned about mudras, and I learned like the Mahasakral mudra. I know about 100 to 150 classical mudras. I don't know if I can call them up right now, but there was a point where I could call all of them up, because not just the Indian yogis have mudras, but also certain monks, like Buddhist monks from Japan, have mudras. And so there's a lot of different. And when you go to mantras, there's so many, like, you have the bija mantras, lam vam ram yam ham om ang, for example. And then you have these other sub mantras, which basically vibrate certain areas around the chakras. It's really interesting, like when you go super deep, like how much of a science this actually is. It's really crazy. And I've done bija mantra sessions with big groups, like not big like Sadhguru, but like 20-30 people. And I've like done that in big cities, in like public parks. I've done it for free for people. It was very, very interesting always to see how much they changed, how much, they become almost like a different person. It's like they released their trauma, and suddenly the true self, the astrological self, could come to the surface. It was very interesting to observe all the time. So I know, the thing is, I'm Cancer sun sign, I'm Cancer ascendant, and I'm Leo in moon. And the problem there is, in none of these signs there is strength in communication. My sign is in feeling. I can, as a double Cancer, I can feel a lot. And the Leo helps me to pull out that deep knowledge and present it. But unfortunately, I don't have an aspect in my astrology which is the perfect communicator. And I don't know Sadia's birth chart, but I'm pretty sure that she has some communicator abilities in her birth chart. For me, it's just not present. The older I get, the better it seems, but because I'm more clear about things, so I know what I'm talking about. That's why I can, but I'm not like a Libra or like a Virgo like Mooji is, who can organize these things and present them in a very special format. I'm not good in that. So, but what you will see from me is deep emotional, spiritual knowledge, and then pulling that out and trying to present it. And sometimes people have to be patient with me so they get the full picture. But when they stay and they listen to everything that I've ever said, it starts to make a lot of sense. And you will see, like, sometimes some of these are like real, I call them gold pills. They're not even red pills or black pills. They're really like gold pills, where you're like, this is really good. This is like really, really good. And one of them is toxic metaframing. And I coined this term, so it's my neologism. libido empowerment, libido suppression, toxic metaframing, you will see some other neologisms that I coined. And it really helps understanding complex situations, which if you don't compartmentalize them, you can easily get lost in them and confused. That's why we have words, and sometimes we lack certain words. So I invented these words, and it really works. And actually, toxic metaframing was once used, I think in 2000 something, in some forum. And I'm not sure if it was related to pickup or to psychology. And then 2 or 3 years later, there was like a short period of time where it was used a little bit, but not necessarily in that context. And then it vanished. And then many years later, like 10 years, I don't know, 15, 20 years it wasn't used. And then I kind of like coined my term, and then I Googled it and I see, okay, we can use this term because it's never been really used. And for what I'm explaining in terms of toxic metaframing, it's the perfect word. It makes perfect sense. Short is TM, which might be confusing to some because they might see it as transcendental meditation. But I mean, with TM, I mean toxic metaframing. I can maybe give a very short explanation of toxic metaframing. Let me do this right now, but tomorrow we'll do a masterclass. Toxic metaframing is one form of toxic metaframing is insults, but they can be verbal, direct, verbal, non-verbal, direct, and indirect, and combinations of those. So, for example, let's first say that everybody has libido empowerment or libido suppression. It's either you suppress your joy and sexuality or you fully live your joy and sexuality. And almost all human interactions are dependent on the scale of on which side you are and where you tend to. And it can change any time because it's a decision that you make. And it's interesting because people who are libido suppressed, who are basically unhappy, if they're unconscious, they seek other people as a projection in order to blame them. So you might have a partner and you are sexually suppressed and joy suppressed, and you blame them for your misery. You do that unconsciously sometimes even. So for example, let's go like really simple and basic. So you're like, you don't feel sexually fulfilled, but you start to look at other women in your relationship. So you're actually libido suppressed, and you are not allowing yourself to be you cannot be with your wife for some reason because she doesn't want to, and some other woman, you don't go to her because you're married, okay, and you don't feel like that's correct. So you're actually libido suppressing yourself, and you're not finding joy. And unconsciously or consciously, you start to criticize your wife because you make her responsible for your misery. And that's just an unconscious move. But because what you're trying to do is you're actually trying to unconsciously break up with her in order to be free to sexually liberate yourself. And this happens in every relationship, in every situation. It's not just in partnerships. It doesn't have to be just sexual. It's in any relation, any interaction. And most people are unhappy. They're in their libido suppression, and they project their unhappiness onto other people. That's why you have so many haters and comments and blah, 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 and people being rude to others. And then you have the verbal and the non-verbal. The non-verbal is kind of like, for example, when women do this to other women, they're like, that's kind of like the non-verbal. And then you have the direct and indirect. The direct is when you say it directly to someone. The indirect might be, I don't have a good example right now. It'll come tomorrow. I'll have a good example for indirect tomorrow. And so, for example, a typical situation is where a father has a son, and the father is libido suppressed. He will project onto the son and be like, you will never amount to anything in life. Those kind of like toxic metaframes. And I call it toxic metaframe because the metaframe, the other person is trying to push you down. And the best way to push you down is putting a large frame over you. It's like, you are stupid. You know? It's like a large frame pushing you down because you're not supposed to have a higher sexual value than I have. So you're trying to lower the sexual value of the other person, either psychologically or real. So you're saying like, you're stupid. So just understand, because you're stupid, you will never have more sex than I do. You will never have more joy than I do. So this is kind of like the underlying mechanism of toxic metaframing, and it's literally, when you understand it, when you deeply understand it, it will completely blow your mind. And the continuous toxic metaframer is the narcissist. And he knows gaslighting, push-pull, shift-blaming, blame shifting, and they're like the experts in those areas. And the thing is, you cannot fight with a toxic metaframer. There's only 3 options you can have with them. Actually, there's a 4th, but the one option is to physically cut with them completely, like cold turkey, never talk to them again. The second option, physical disconnect. The second option is to over-toxic metaframe. That's where war starts or fights start. You know how, you're stupid, no, you're stupid, no, you're much stupider, and then fist fight, or, knives or guns, whatever. And a lot of people miss the toxic metaframes. They don't understand it. They don't know that they're escalating them because they're unconscious, and then they wonder how they ended up in the fight. Because usually a fight is always as a precedent. Before the fight always comes the toxic metaframe. So you always have the option to pull out. So, and what happens is the third option is when the other person is highly conscious, but in this moment they weren't realizing that, they toxic metaframed you. Then, and it's, for example, you have a partnership with a great person, then you can reflect it to them and you can explain them toxic metaframe, be like, you did this, and that means you're not in your joy, you're not in your sexuality. What can you do to come into your joy right now? And once the person understands this is a partner and they come into realization, aha, you're right, they can follow their joy and they immediately fix the relationship. And now comes the thing, what's the contrary to toxic metaframing? It's authentic, real, they can be short, compliments. It's very interesting. So you can completely fix a toxic relationship if both are conscious enough to turn it into compliments. For example, today, for example, the husband took out the garbage. Then you can say, I'm very happy that you remember taking out the garbage. For example, instead of like, oh, you were again late to take out the garbage, that's a toxic metaframe. That's funny how much you know about what other people don't know. Well, the thing is, I'm really, this is like my soul plan. This is like really, I think I have such a unique soul plan that if I were famous, I'm 100% sure, if I were famous, if I were like famous like Sadia Khan, I would literally change the whole world on how people see relationship and everything. It would completely change the world. I'm 100% sure, because the people who I talk to already who understand what I'm talking about, it completely changed their life, completely. And you know what, the interesting thing is, if someone is toxic, they will toxic metaframe very early on already. So you notice it within the first few minutes. It's just a certain type of behavior, and you have to be a hardliner. I remember I needed to go to the post office in Czech Republic, and it was during COVID time, and there was a woman, an older woman. There was like a line standing outside because they didn't let people in all at once. So they were like, you have to come in as one person, then you leave, then another person comes in. So they were all standing outside, and there was a huge line. At the very end of the line, there was an older woman. And I came to them. I'm usually always in a very good mood. I'm like a very optimistic, very good mood type of person. and I enjoy my life. I really have a 9 out of 10 most days, and unless I'm physically sick or something. And so I was standing. I came to her and I was like, "Oh, how long are you guys waiting here already?" And she was like looking at me, like, because maybe I wasn't dressed to her up to her standards, and she was like, and she kind of like sized me up, but it was definitely judging in a judging way. So it was a non-verbal, direct toxic meta frame. And at that moment, I decided I'm not going to even wait here. I'm not going to be even standing next to that person. And I just left and dealt with my, postal office stuff some other time. It was the perfect choice. And if I had ignored it, and most people ignore these kind of signs because they play it down, or have the need to belong, whatever, group think, whatever, for whatever reason, they would ignore it or downplay it, and then they would start, maybe they would even exchange number with that person, start to become friends with that person, because they didn't realize what a toxic meta frame is. And then they wonder how they end up in bad situation with so many toxic people around them. You have to recognize these things very early on, and sometimes it can be super subtle. And the good thing is that 5 to 10% of people don't do these toxic meta frames, and you have to have those as friends. Or you might just be delusional of grandeur. That's actually a toxic meta frame. A delusion of grandeur is a persistent false belief that one possesses exceptional powers, wealth, talents, or importance, even when the evidence to the contrary exists. Well, here's the contrary. Here's the evidence. I understand what you're saying, but the evidence is clearly there that I have these abilities and talents. But if you persist on that, although you start to get to know me a little bit maybe, but you will, if you persist on that, then you're actually the toxic meta framer. Like I said, 90% of people are toxic meta framers. So even in my viewership, there's going to be 9 out of 10 are going to be toxic. They don't even know it. They're not conscious of it. Because it depends how high your joy and sexuality in life really is. It really depends on where it is. And people are very good in lying to themselves also about this, like how high their joy and sexuality really is. And I confess, I also have days where I'm like low in joy and sexuality, and if I don't watch myself, I might project it onto someone else. The most important thing is that you never do this towards close people that are very close to you. So that's basically what toxic meta framing is, but I'm gonna explain it more in detail tomorrow. And now I'm gonna go to sleep because it's getting late. Okay, so good night.